it got at least 200 views, but not a single comment.
Yeah, that was weird, but I don't know. It just kind of goes. That's how it goes.
I was just wanted a comment. I just wanted to see like if they had questions about the topic or anything. I was like ready.
Yeah, it's usually the comments on YouTube are usually like, "Oh, I found you through this thing," blah blah blah, which is fine. It's still growing. It's not a big deal. It's whatever.
No, it's all good. No, I'm not upset by it. I was just hoping there would be something. That's all.
The audience should now know to leave comments on our YouTube videos.
Yeah, that's what I was
things
doing.
like, I want to know more about this topic.
Opening our fucking podcast with us complaining that we're not getting enough comments.
Yeah, that's how you just say it. I'm not complaining. This is my way of saying you guys should leave comments if you watch this.
We love you. We want to hear from you. We love you.
I don't love you at all. I don't care about you. But
yeah, no parasocial relationships from me.
No, I don't do that.
You can have a parasocial relationship with me. It's okay. I'll be your Markiplier.
No. I don't want anyone to be my Markiplier. I don't want a Markiplier.
He's like a ghost that hangs over me in my lonely room, and it's okay. I have Markiplier. He's here.
It's a mustache. All right, so you're telling us about. Well, are we doing that now? Okay.
Oh wait, what?
I don't know. I don't know. We'll start wherever you want to start. I don't.
What were you
gonna say? No, I was gonna say if you wanted to tell everyone about how you got dirt, you paid for dirt.
Okay, yeah, I got some Area 51 dirt that came in the mail today that I'm super excited about, and I am aware it is absolutely dirt from some dude's like porch.
Yeah,
I'm 100% aware. Some guy.
You could have just made it. How much was that?
It was $35.
You just gave someone $35.
Chase, man, like you make some pretty cool shit, but like I don't know.
Look, it's cool. It says
you clearly are diseased in your mind.
It says warning: do not open potential alien contaminants.
Yeah,
okay?
You got like
every goddamn penny.
Look. I think
you spent money on like a novelty item that like a traveling father would pick up his 8-year-old who only sees him once a week.
Look, it's cool. Okay, let me have this.
I really do believe like a Baldur's Gate type point system exists within people. Like if you're a good writer and artist, there's no way you're good at making like purchase decisions. Like you can't have it all. You can't have it all, is what I'm saying. Like it's like if you're a talented mathematician, you're probably going to be really bad at like I don't know.
You like
a car.
Roll to talk to women.
You like you smell really bad.
Yeah.
It's just you couldn't put those points into charisma.
You got charisma, Chase, and you have maybe some wisdom, but you're missing some intelligence points.
I had a math professor who had like missing teeth and like a weird accent and was like homeless for most of his early 20s and all this other stuff. And his wife was like the most beautiful woman I have ever seen. And all I can think is, damn, that's a nat 20.
He must be a real smart guy.
He hit a nat 20.
He must be a real smart dude. Yeah, in Korea.
Fucking Disco Elysium moment where he has like he's got like 3 points in it and he says fuck it and he just somehow manages to just pull like the baddest bitch.
Yeah, there you go. That's how it is, man. But all right.
Also, real fast.
Yeah, do it.
Wait, real fast before we start. I am recovering from COVID, so I'm gonna be sniffing. I'm gonna be hoofing, and my voice is gonna sound not so good. But bear with me.
Get ready, folks. It's just making an excuse for the shitty podcast we're about to record.
I am memetically transferring my COVID to you as you are listening.
Oh yeah.
The information. Yeah, good. COVID is in the information.
Damn, Joe Biden going crazy.
Yeah, Joe Biden. Welcome to Joe Biden's America. Okay. Gnosticism. Gnosticism. That's the subject.
Right.
Yeah.
Get us started with
the second time in a row we have started an episode by saying the topic and then going
just silence. 7 seconds of silence.
And it'll be an ongoing tradition. But So you said you wanted to get into the history first, so get us started. Get the ball rolling.
Yeah, let's get the ball rolling.
Or the idea. Well, what are we talking about? Where should we start? What do you think?
I be Sisyphus right now. Okay, so Gnosticism is a form of proto-Christianity. So the thing a lot of people, namely Christians, don't really understand about Christianity is that it was not uniform from the get-go. There's this like weird myth that I have encountered. I don't know how popular this myth is, but there's this weird myth where Jesus came and then Christianity was here, like as we know it today. That ain't how it fucking went. Not even fucking close. There was pretty much the only thing people back in the day after Jesus died could agree on was that Jesus was somehow important. There was so many different forms of Christianity that historians refer to them as like Christianities because there was so many of them. There was actually, Elijah, help me out here because I know you know a bunch of weird proto-Christianities aside from like Orthodox Christianity that evolved into the Christianity we have today and Gnosticism.
Really a lot of the stuff you're thinking of would be non-Pauline stuff. And also importantly, it's going to be non-Nicene. So there's like two periods of what I guess you could call proto-Christianity. Had to think about that. You would call it like ante-Nicene Christianity would be like Christianity before 360, before the Niceno-Constantinopolitan Creed. It was reasonably united. The Didache existed. We have consistent records of Christians teaching approximately the same things. But you had divergences. Later down the line, you would have serious divergences. Like one thing that's interesting is the Mongol Empire was full of Christians and they all practiced a heresy.
I did not know that at all.
Yeah, the Christians in the Mongol Empire practiced a heresy which like until Europeans made contact with it, they believed was extinct.
What was the heresy? I'm curious. Like Mongol Christianity.
It's
Mongol Christian heretics is interesting sentence.
It's Nestorianism. So the reason why it spread through the Mongol Empire is because of the like road method, I guess. Like I don't know if that makes sense, but like they would go down the road and evangelize to people on the road. And so
yeah, no, that makes sense. That's something that used to happen. They would like travel along like trade routes and shit.
They also rejected, this is like one of their big things. They rejected the title of Theotokos for Mary, which means God bearer. And the reason why was because they rejected that Christ had a divine nature that was born by his human nature.
Yeah, there's a lot of people died over honestly the dumbest shit. I got like insofar as heresies go, they would fucking kill each other over yes, do you believe that Jesus was born divine, or do you believe he became divine after his baptism, or do you believe that it was some kind of mix of the two, or do you believe just like weird shit that people don't even fucking think about today. People would like fucking crucify you for preaching.
So it's like modern day Thanksgiving dinners and people bring up politics or what?
It's important to understand that Gnostics and Nestorians and stuff like that, they weren't playing on the pluri-religious playing field that we have today.
Yeah.
Christians were being murdered for expressions of their belief. And so Christians had a lot invested in it. They had a lot invested in making sure the community was protected. So when these Nestorians were like, Christ does not have a divine nature born by his human nature, to us that sounds like a really obscure, like we can't imagine why that would be a problem. It's super insignificant. But then it was super significant because you're talking about like the nature of Christ's divinity. And to many of these people, it sounded like the Nestorians, and Bishop Nestorius himself, especially, were denigrating the role of divinity in the works of Christ. And that was like really harmful. And that sort of thing is how these Gnostic communities emerge. Is there's a small difference on a particular doctrine. For example, the idea that the Old Testament God and New Testament God are not the same guy. And then that, which is a major doctrinal change, by the way, and that proceeds to create a cascading series of effects as people take that philosophy and they go, well, if that's true, then, you know, for example, if the God of the Old Testament is different from the God of the New Testament, then that means that the covenant of Christ does not extend to the Jews. Christ's covenant is not the covenant of Israel, and so on.
These big long philosophical debates that start with one chain of reasoning that end on a different one that could completely diverge depending on like these weird little things, which again they do sound weird, but I guess if you accept that, then logically you have to accept this other thing according to, you know, the canon, I guess.
That's how a lot of stuff is in general in history, is that some of the disputes or things people would, you know, go to war or kill each other over seem incredibly irrelevant or innocuous to us. But once you integrate the context of the situation and the limitations of knowledge and basically the bubbles that humans would live in, and then you take into things like, you know, widespread illiteracy, and even those that were literate couldn't travel, or there's certain specific like subsets of knowledge that weren't available unless you wanted to travel or see something like in a month's or 2 or 3 months worth of travel, which most people wouldn't do, just to gather some new piece of information regarding their beliefs. And if they did do it, they probably had a significant amount of money. So then that's at play. Like that kind of stuff's really interesting to me. Is like there's probably going to be a ton of stuff that we fight over that's going to seem pretty insignificant and stupid to the humans of 200 years from now.
Yeah. Okay, so anyways, so these divergences within Gnosticism specifically. So back in the day, like this might be contentious. I've heard a lot of Gnostics get angry when I say this, but it's kind of true.
There is he's about to say a Gnostic slur.
Yeah. By the way, before you say this, I have to say this before I forget it. I now came up, or you guys just helped me come up with a future retro gaming channel title for YouTube, and that's going to be Nestorian.
Nestorian. Oh my god, that's fucking good. That's actually fucking cool.
Nestorian. Yeah. Anyway.
Oh, that's really good. I get that now. Yeah. Just a little bit slow on the uptake there.
or you could do SNES. But yeah.
The cogs are turning slowly. Yeah. They're rusty.
Go ahead. Say the offensive thing. Offend all the millions of Gnostics that are gonna watch this.
I'm gonna say a slur. I'm gonna do it. No. So Gnosticism was never really a contained tradition in that there was no like group of people that called themselves Gnostics back in the day and had like a certain set of dogmatic ideas. What they did have was a set of like stereotypes. And those there's 4 stereotypes that these Gnostics would usually go towards. Although it's also important to consider that not all Gnostics believed in all of these things. Some of them only believed in like one of them, or some weird combination of the 2 of them, or blah blah blah. There was a lot of them. But those stereotypes are, first of all, that the material world is evil. The second one is that the material world, because it is evil, was created by, well, if the material world is evil, it could not have been created by a good god, and they called this god the demiurge, which comes from Plato, which
that's another name too. What's his name? Yes, Yaldabaoth.
Yaldabaoth, whatever. He's got a lot of names. The third
Some people call him Maurice.
more. The third stereotype is that because the material world is evil and created by this demiurge, who is also evil, Jesus Christ could not have had a physical body. His body would have had to have been an illusion. And the fourth stereotype is because the material world is evil, because it's created by this dude, the demiurge, blah, 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 it is the goal of Gnostics and everyone to transcend reality, to escape material reality. And you do that by achieving this inner gnosis, or like the word in English, Gnostic gnosis is knowledge, but they're not talking about like information. They're talking about this kind of like spiritual inert knowledge. The idea is that God, the true God, emanated downwards through a series of, well, emanations, right? And these emanations mature. Eventually, you follow the train down far enough, and they created this being called, this emanation called Sophia, which is wisdom. And Sophia was so far away from the source that all of these emanations came from that she birthed this thing called the demiurge. And the demiurge was like, hey, yo, I am God. I am the only God. What's up? I'm going to make my own world, which was the material world.
I mean, he was supposed to, two things. What was Sophia's other name that's way cooler? She has a way cooler name. It's like, it starts with a B, Barbaro?
Barbalo?
Yeah, Barbalo. I always thought that was cool.
Barbalo
yeah.
Cool as fuck, yeah.
Yeah, but no, beyond that, Yaldabaoth or the Demiurge, he was supposed to not have actually been aware that he wasn't God, right? Like he thinks he is God because he was kept ignorant of the fact that he wasn't.
Yeah, he's like, I don't. It depends on the tradition. I think it's really vague, but the idea is that he does not understand that he is not God. He thinks he's the only God. And the idea is that he's like blinded because he lacks true gnosis of the true God, which is the divine source from which all of these emanations come from. And the idea that Gnostics have is that because we are the material world is an emanation of the divine source, aka the true God, aka
so all of existence is just a big tulpa.
Essentially. The idea is that because the material world is an emanation of the descending from the divine source, we have little kernels of that divine source inside of us called divine sparks. And the idea is that if we study this divine spark within us, then we can have better knowledge of the divine source. And in doing that, we can achieve gnosis. And then once we achieve gnosis, we can transcend material reality, go all the way back up to the source, to fucking Abraxas or whatever, and escape material reality, basically. That's the basic gist of Gnosticism. But there's a shitload of different takes on this. This is not like a solid religion. In modern days, there's like a niche community of Gnostics who have like come together to make their own little church, but they're not like historical. This isn't like what they believe is not what they believed back in the day. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I can't wait till once we get through some of the informational stuff. I can't wait to get to talking about some of the modern incarnations and ideas that come from it. It's just funny.
I actually do not know very much about the modern Gnostic movements.
Well, I don't know much about the modern Gnostic movements. It's just what it inspired and how it's affected modern society and media is what's fascinating to me.
God,
but
I constantly think about what the world would look like right now if Gnosticism had taken off instead of like Orthodox Christianity, and
It would
what
be
the
a
world
nightmare.
it would be fucking horrible. Yeah.
No, I don't know.
But
Well,
you
I
gotta
push
think
back on that one. I push back.
You got to think you're thinking about a world in which the prevailing religion is one that says that every created material thing is evil, is fundamentally evil.
That sounds pretty base.
Not only that, but we're gonna get into later. Like there is a Gnostic tradition.
Unhinged.
There is a Gnostic tradition where there are like three sets of people. There's like psychics, pneumatics, and hylics. Hylics are just meat. They don't have divine sparks. They're soulless meat people.
So they're Warhammer 40k voids. I think that's what they're called.
Essentially, kind of.
They don't have souls.
Yeah, they're just like fucking they're like animals basically. And remember, all matter is evil. And remember, the Gnostics were like a fucking mystery cult basically. They were like, oh no, we have to keep all of this to ourselves because we are the enlightened ones and they are the sheep. So a world in which Gnosticism
Glad nobody ever picked up that idea.
God, a world in which Gnosticism is the prevailing religion would be one in which you have like maybe like 1,000 elite dudes with souls, and then everyone else does not have souls, and they're just like fodder basically.
Why are you describing our current situation?
Okay.
So actually, I wanted to touch on that because yes, like we live in a world where there is a prevailing Christianity, because Gnosticism, one of the things that's important is Gnosticism, a mystery cult cannot be the prevailing religion, because that would mean that public spirituality would have to be governed by a secret that everyone knows already.
Again, you're just describing where we live.
Fair enough. But this is like a thing that I wanted to say was, first of all, the stream of Gnosticism you've described is called Sethian Gnosticism.
Yeah.
And it's, it's pretty cool stuff. The largest organized Gnostic bodies today, if I understand it properly, are Sethian.
Mm-hmm. Really?
Yes, because there are organized Gnostic bodies.
I knew that, but I didn't know that they were also like the bad kind of Gnostic. Because like, don't get me wrong, there are some types of Gnosticism that are like super based, like insanely based.
If you didn't offend the Gnostics before you got around to it.
Well, no, because like I really like Gnosticism. I used to consider myself a Gnostic, but like all religious traditions, there are veins that are based and there are veins that are cringe. And this there is the base and there is the cringe within everything.
Yeah.
But like this idea that some people just don't have souls and I am the super cool guy and you are the super cringe guy.
Did they ever describe a sign on how to find those people?
Yes.
Yeah, it's people who are like.
Did it include having red hair or something?
It's literally just seeking knowledge. A Hylic cannot seek knowledge.
Okay, so a Hylic is somebody that doesn't like learning?
Yeah, so like
kind of.
Yeah, they can't seek spiritual knowledge.
Okay.
It's a label that could be placed on anyone who is not very intelligent. I'll be honest, like straight up, anyone who doesn't really like have the best intelligence could be considered a Hylic through.
Oh man, that would do wonders for the mental health. That would do wonders for the mental health industry if we were all Gnostic, wouldn't it?
Imagine a world in which instead of putting crazy people, or not crazy, I shouldn't say that word, the neurodivergent people
canceled.
No,
not you just said crazy people, and then you thought you saved it by saying neurodivergent people. Like what? That's
been
hilarious.
Canceled. Oh no.
No, but that's hilarious. It's like if you said criminals. I mean.
Like, it's over. It's over.
Your career's
My
over,
career
man.
is over.
All right. So anyway, back to talking about those crazy, wacky neurodivergents.
No, goddamn.
Okay. Continue.
Imagine a world in which we put neurodivergents instead of in like an asylum or getting them help, we put them in like a camp where they just worked for us. That would be the world of Sethian Gnosticism.
Yeah, I already live in that world. I have a job.
But then again, I do want to touch on, there are veins of Gnosticism which are super fucking badass. There are Gnostics that view things like heteronormativity and like anti-LGBT shit, capitalism as like machinations of the demiurge. Who that view breaking free of those things as like in essence Gnostic praxis. So it's very, my point is it's very like it's very diverse, and Gnosticism isn't bad. It can be based, but it can also be incredibly cringe.
All right.
I wanted to say that arguably the tradition was the most invested in defending itself from this like allegation, the Hylix allegation of like
beating the Hylix allegations.
Yeah, beating the Hylix allegations is my tradition, is Calvinism.
Really?
Because we believe that before a person is born, because we believe it's unconditional election before the foundation of the world.
Oh yeah, you were telling me that you believed in
predestination.
Predestination, yeah.
Yeah, and so we believe
try
that
try defending that one, Bucko.
Who are like, there are people who are born for whom practicing Christianity is either, depending on how you take predestination, is either impossible for them or futile for them. Because there's just nothing they can do. Because the election either to heaven or hell for, usage or destruction, etc. We have all kinds of like really interesting metaphors for it. But generally speaking, like the sentencing is done before the foundation of the world. So like not even before you were born, but before let there be light. Or if you want to be more technical about it, it's before the waters were separated.
I'm assuming that your personal interpretation on this is less don't even bother becoming a Christian and more like weird like free will theology shit.
I am a staunch opponent of free will as a Christian doctrine. I believe that in what Luther called the universal hope. So it's my opinion that everyone should be Christian, and we should treat everyone we meet as though they are chosen for salvation. Even if, like, we have solid reason to believe otherwise.
See, look, nah. This is why I left Christianity, okay?
You're just born fucked. You're just born fucked.
Listen, it's worth noting that we also believe, generally, most of us, that hell is not eternal conscious torment.
Oh, okay. Cool. That's
so
nice.
Yeah,
that makes it a little bit better.
A lot of us believe in either soul sleep.
It's just temporary concept.
Soul sleep. I love soul sleep. Is such a cool word. I need to make like a shoegaze.
That's a shoegaze band, man.
Yeah.
I believe in, and a lot of us believe in soul sleep and annihilationism. Which annihilationism and these you can believe in both or one or neither of these. A lot of Calvinists believe in eternal conscious torment and instantaneous judgment. But soul sleep is the idea that when you die, your soul goes into like sleep mode. And then on the day of resurrection, when Jesus comes back and judges everything in glory and blah, 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 like we say in the creeds, your soul will be like woken up. And based on how it responds to Christ's presence, it will be either saved or damned.
I'm fucked.
And now it's Christ will look at you and in a big echoing voice
I'm
go,
so fucked.
Peace, cringe,
so the thing about annihilationism is it's exactly what it sounds like. It's the idea that those who are set aside for damnation are not set aside for eternal conscious torment. They're set aside to stop existing.
It's even worse. I mean, unless you're into that.
I mean, just like
the absence of eternal conscious torment is definitely better.
I fight that shit.
Yeah,
I'll fight that. I'm too angry and bitter to put up with that.
He's built different. He would just cross his arms.
I'm built different. If my soul gets woken up and Jesus tells me I'm cringe, I'll tell him that
no, you're cringe.
Yeah, no, I'll say. It's cringe to call people cringe, and then
I am cringe,
and then I'll just upend all of like cosmology with that. Like
the entire theology has been defeated by one. Nuh-uh.
No. So the reason I bring all this up is first of all, I wanted the chance to say that the belief that some people are just fucked from birth is definitely still alive and well. I think that you may be more distressed to know that we are like the second largest like mainline Protestant tradition.
And you're telling me you don't want a Gnostic world? I'll take a Gnostic world over that one.
Which Gnostic world though? That's important.
Yeah, that's true.
The other reason I wanted to bring up the Sethite thing is because it's my understanding, at least, and I could be wrong, but it's my understanding they're relatively late edition. So, like a lot of their gospels, their Gnostic gospels, as they're called. If you give me 1 second, I've got my Gospel of Mary Magdalene here in front of me. I was just reading all of these Gnostic gospels.
Hell yeah! While you're looking for that, can I just say how based the Gospel of Judas is?
I disagree.
So fucking cool. It's cool. It's cool.
It's the best.
It's cool as hell.
It's so cool. I'm sorry.
Jesus is literally just like the Gnostic Gospels in general are fucking like insane.
Almost, yeah. It's like Lovecraftian shit. Man.
First of all, Jesus is just like he's like fucking what's the guy's name from like the Lovecraftian prophets? What's his name again?
I don't remember.
Oh, Alhazar.
Yeah,
talking about like Necronomicon.
Yeah. The guy that wrote
Abdul Hazard
out of his own flesh or something.
Yeah.
Jesus in the Gnostic Gospels is nutso wacko. He's like cool. Fucking. So in the Gospel of Judas, and this is tame compared to the rest of them, but in the Gospel of Judas, like all of his apostles, like the 12 apostles or whatever, they're like praying and they're doing communion, and Jesus comes in and he's like, haha, bitch, pussy, and then he like runs away. And then Judas follows him. And he's like, Judas, I have like a secret plan from the divine realms for you.
Yeah.
And he tells him all this secret shit. There's another one.
Supposedly Judas, the idea was that Judas had an inkling of this, and that he made a statement that basically made Jesus go, this guy knows what's up. And
there's another one that I want to talk about though that is not my favorite. I'll get to my favorite Gnostic gospel, but one of my favorites is the infancy gospel of Thomas.
Thomas. Yeah, the one where he fucking kills some kids and then like brings them back to life.
So the story is that first of all, it opens and Jesus he's like a little piss baby, and the idea is that it's trying to create a story of, because in the Bible it's like a lost part of Jesus's life where he is a kid and nobody like really knows what happens between.
Fought a dragon.
Did he fight it? I'm not familiar with that.
There's a story about a dragon in a cave.
I'm sure there's all kinds of weird
cool
shit.
One.
But yeah, there's this story where Jesus is on the Sabbath. He is like down by the river and he's like making little clay birds and he's like, haha, and then the birds come to life and they fly away. And then a little boy And then a little boy comes up to him and he's like, hey, you can't be making things on the Sabbath. That's bad. Oh, fuck. Sorry, COVID.
Any other day, he can go ahead and
Yeah,
spontaneously create
you can
life.
make some birds, but not today. And then Jesus is literally just like a bitch wither. And then the kid fucking
like a Gnostics in League of Legends.
He fucking wither. And then the literal text is that, and the boy withered. He just fucking
Right
gecks.
up.
He just gecks on this little kid. And fucking like fuck, I don't know. No, it's later on, right? Because that kid's just dead. But later on, Jesus is playing on a roof with some little kid, and for some reason the kid falls, and everybody accuses Jesus of pushing him off of the roof. And then Jesus is like, "Nuh-uh, hey, dead kid, tell him." And then the dead kid shoots up and he's like, "Yeah, Jesus didn't do it. He's innocent." Um,
Free
fucking
Jesus till it's backwards.
God. I don't know if Jesus actually pushed him off the roof. I forget. It would be in character for Gnostic Jesus to push this kid off the roof. I don't know. But my all-time favorite, is the Gnostic crucifixion. And that there's this story in the Bible where Jesus is taking the cross, because like he's got to like bring the cross to Golgotha or whatever. And then this dude comes, and in the Bible he like wipes the sweat off of his brow. In the Gnostic version of this story, when the guy comes up and wipes the sweat off of Jesus's brow, Jesus trades bodies with him and runs away and is like, haha, does a little Fortnite dance, runs off into the fucking crowd, and lets the dude get crucified in his place. And then his soul is just like hanging over the crowd after the dude has been crucified. His soul is just hanging over the crowd, like laughing at everyone, and only one dude can see this like insane like ghost, I guess, just like laughing at everyone. Which is just the most unhinged shit I have ever heard in my entire life.
Freaky Friday, Jesus.
Sorry.
Is Gnostic texts are just so much more fun. They're just so fun. Like what? Okay, so just to get into some of the ideas that I find interesting is.
Wait, real fast. I hate to cut you off, but Elijah was bringing up some stuff.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. I totally cut Elijah off.
No, it's all good. Keep doing it.
Sethian Gnosticism, the reason why it's predominantly like modern Gnosticism is predominantly Sethian, and a lot of sources will just call Sethian Gnosticism just Sethianism. The reason why it's the most popular is that it appears in the late 2nd century. So in like, I think the earliest manuscript we have is like approximately 180 or like 185. And they're able to date this because of its particular theology, among other things. The Didache, which I recommend that any Christian with an interest in church history read, and like other people can also read it, but you'll find it really boring. The Didache, which is a composite manual for Christian catechism. So for like the instruction of what we would call more Nicene or Orthodox Christianity, which it wouldn't be Nicene Christianity yet because it's so old, was constructed in the 1st century, probably early in the 1st century. And the like title of the Didache that it uses for itself internally is, because Didache means teaching. The title it uses for itself internally is like the teaching of Jesus of Nazareth to his 12 apostles and for the nations. And it lays out really basic fundamental Christian beliefs that Gnostics differ on. So a lot of historians don't believe Gnosticism is Christianity. They believe it is a fusion of Hellenistic Judaic philosophy.
Yes,
with
I'm
like
not,
the
I'm gonna cut you off for like 2 seconds. I'll let you continue. But another thing that I really wanted to get into are the Neoplatonic influences on
Yeah,
the whole
Gnosticism.
thing is Neoplatonic.
Yeah, it's cool as fuck. But yeah, go on with what you were saying. I wanna make like a mental note later too. I want to get to that because that shit's cool.
Yeah. So you had the sort of Neoplatonic Helleno-Judaic like schools of thought. And these particular schools of thought influenced one another, and then Sethianism is the result of like multiple of them merging. So it's easy for us to think, and I countered this in the last episode too, that the centralized organized church is a late emergent body, but it isn't. And I'm not just like saying that because I'm going to make money off people believing it. It isn't a centralized like organized body that is emergent late in Christianity. We have reference to centralized groups of bishops at the time of like Justin Martyr, which is like very early. It's like 1st or 2nd century. Justin Martyr, if I remember properly, was the one who said that if we do not have the council of bishops, we do not have the church. So, and the Nestorians I mentioned that were in the Mongol Empire, they were super cool with this. They were in their Munga Khan. That's which Khan they were under Munga Khan.
Munga Khan.
No, I know. It just sounds like a Mongol convention.
Sounds like a fucking Decepticon.
Yeah.
Hey, does everybody get their tickets for Mongol Khan?
Yeah.
But no, Munga Khan was the Khan at the time. But yeah, so the Sethian philosophy does not emerge as a competitor to Christianity. It emerges as a secretive, Gnostic cult. And when I'm saying cult there, I'm not saying it in any negative connotation. So I should say it's a secretive, mystery-based new religious movement that like gained steam at the time. So when we talk about what if this was the predominant Christianity, there are 2 reasons it couldn't have been. 1, they had to keep their secrets. That's like half the game. And 2, the church was already existent.
So what you're saying, there's a possibility that the world's already being run by Gnostics. Secretly.
Shit.
There's a non-zero possibility of a lot of things.
That's all I'm getting out of what you said, by the way, is that we might be ruled by Gnostics.
I choose to believe that there is a Gnostic mystery cult.
There's 2 cults. There's a pro Yegoboth elites, and then there's the anti-Yegoboth elites. And that's how the world is run.
That's the truth.
The world is run exclusively by Calvinists who do believe in eternal conscious torment and Gnostics that don't. That's it. That's how the world.
That's it. Capitalism, communism, all fake, lame.
Yep. It's all just it's internal discourse to the Presbyterian tradition. That's what causes the wars.
Okay, so
I fucking no. We say that as a joke, but in the last episode, I literally went on like a huge spiel as to why like Christianity or like Protestant Christianity is like at the core of most political struggles.
But yeah, so the church existed and Gnosticism did not pose a significant threat to it and was mostly viewed as a pagan like sect. It wasn't viewed as like a competing Christianity, partially because the church would have had to surrender many of its truth claims to consider it a competing Christianity. So rather than biting the bullet of saying there is a competing strain of Christianity, most Christians were perfectly comfortable saying that weird shit that those guys are doing over there just straight isn't Christianity.
Yeah, that's because they were they're just too afraid to handle those debate bros, the Gnostics.
They were such fucking debate bros, and this like brings me into like this other thing, which is another reason that Gnosticism died out and was beaten out by I guess the word is Orthodox Christianity. That's the word that they used back then. And that is fucking Emperor Nero. So like back in the day, the Romans, it's pretty widely known that the Romans persecuted Christians pretty bad back in the day. They would kill them.
Mm-hmm.
Nero would like strap them to crosses and like burn them and like take a walk through his garden.
Into the lion.
Yeah. The thing is that a lot of Christians back then believed in this thing called baptism by blood, or I think that's the word, like a blood, like if you are a martyr, you go to heaven. That was the idea. And for some reason, Christians
it's the red-green martyrdom controversy is what it's also sometimes called. A red martyr is someone who is killed. And so they created a whole new category of martyr called a green martyr, which is like your grandma who was super religious and like died, like of natural causes. They would call her a green martyr.
Yeah. So back in the day, they were super fucking horny to get killed by the Romans, like 100%. They would literally line up outside and be like, I'm a Christian, feed me to the lions, let's fucking go. I'm sending, I can imagine nothing better than to be like emulate the sacrifice of my God. I want to die in the most brutal fucking way possible.
They sound like very, very passive Vikings.
they fucking and there was a lot of like, obviously people dying by the thousands creates this really weird like social atmosphere, whereas the Gnostics, they didn't believe in that. They didn't believe that they viewed these martyrs as like servants of the demiurge, and coming out and saying that
everything I don't like is the demiurge.
Everything that is true. Okay, like real shit. Everything I don't like is the demiurge. That is 100%.
That's a good meme. We need that.
But yeah, imagine like you just watched your grandpa get mauled to death by lions, and then this like debate bro. Imagine Vosh shows up and says, actually, he was a servant of the demiurge and is bad.
That's really funny. I'm just imagining some like somebody trolling.
That's exactly what it was like. And because of like all of this like emotional shit that surrounded the persecution of these Christians, they just won like socially because everyone was so emotionally invested.
Maybe they just got really tired of how horny they were to die.
No, that it only got worse. Their horniness only got worse. They fucking like. Okay, fuck. I got like COVID phlegm at the back of my throat. Excuse me. But they were like the Gnostics were shut down because. What the fuck are you talking about, bitch? My grandpa just got eaten by a bunch of lions. You're gonna tell me that he was bad actually because he was merely meat and with no soul or whatever? Like, fuck you, dude.
And then that's exactly what they would tell you. Yeah.
Your dad was an NPC.
Your dad was unironically, Hylics are like NPCs. They're NPCs. Yeah.
That's the idea.
And that's not really gonna fucking fly insofar as like the marketplace of ideas goes.
Oh man, I'm just imagining like so I'm just imagining a world that's pre-Hitler, and so then everyone just call each other the demiurge.
To be fair, living in a world where you can just call someone a Hylic would be really funny.
I mean, that's what people do now. They call each other NPCs.
They call each other NPCs.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
Yeah.
I explicitly want to like run around calling people Hylics. That would be really funny.
Hylics. And if somebody gets insulted, it'd be like, no, it's where people from Hyrule. Zelda games come from?
Fucking okay, so going into more of the like cosmological aspects of Gnosticism.
Please.
Here we fucking go. Yeah, we're talking. So there are a lot of streams of Gnosticism where they would equate the Old Testament God to the demiurge. There is this Gnostic gospel where the snake in the Garden of Eden is actually Jesus. And he shows up and he's like, nah, take the fruit of the knowledge, get it? Knowledge, gnosis, blah, 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 and eat it and you'll be free. And then the demiurge got pissed off at them. And you can kind of see all of these little twists, how this idea can be applied to become like almost an anti-Christianity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
I mean, with the Gnostics, all the angels are demons.
yeah, the archons, yeah, the like the good guys are the aeons and the bad guys are the archons or whatever. Yeah.
There's
go on.
So the Gnostic like religion, which I think it's important that we do talk about it sort of in both a historic and modern sense. I don't want to say Gnostics were, talk about them in the past tense, and then people still practice the religion. But the Gnostic religion had the archons and the aeons, like you said. And because of that, they could not coherently identify worldly forces with either one. So they would just be like, everything I don't like is archons.
I don't know about everything that they don't like. I think Gnostics liked some things. There was plenty of stuff. Anything that was associated with that divine cosmic spark, and Sophia and the rest were things they liked. I think there were aspects of, I'm sure there would have been arguments within Gnostics about the validity or importance of using the material world in order to promote or essentially, like our books are material, right? So obviously you would have to use literature in order to write down these ideas, in order to propagate them and continue them forward. So I'm pretty sure they like books. I'm pretty sure they like the written word and its use. But ultimately, it's for the
books
goal.
are made of matter.
Yeah. But ultimately, it would. I mean, they cared about them enough to stick them by the Nile River and. Where we found them. When was that? What year was that? That little kid found
Nag Hammadi was like 1898, I think.
Yeah. That little kid found him. I thought it was a funny story that
was it a little kid that found it?
Yeah, a little kid. It was a little kid. Oh yeah,
I thought it was like some dude.
No, it's I hear phone.
Yeah. Oh god, yeah.
Very professional, Chase.
You guys keep talking. I'm gonna go ignore
very professional.
You guys keep going. All
right, we'll keep going. But
anyway, I thought it was a fisherman actually was who found it, not a little kid. But
well, the story I've heard multiple times is that it was a child looking for firewood that was sent out by his mother, and then he knew about the graves, and he knew there was stuff down there, so he thought, well, we can't. There's like no trees here, so or barely any. So I'm gonna go down there and look for something we could burn, and then he found those.
Didn't his grandma like also use some of the Nag Hammadi library like as kindling for a fire?
So that was the story, and then a neighbor or somebody in the village or the place where they lived noticed what they were and was like, "Yo, you can't burn these." And then
you can't burn these, dude. Come on, man.
Yeah. So but anyway, go ahead, Elijah. What were we gonna say?
Oh, I was just gonna say the Nag Hammadi library. I googled it. A local farmer like dug up the texts because he was seeking firewood.
Okay, so maybe it's a mix-up of the stories going all over.
Yeah, he was digging for firewood. The story is unclear because it's like
over
Yeah,
100 years old.
Yeah, a lot of scholars, according to what I saw, seem to think that that kid was literally just grave robbing.
Yeah, that's what I think so too.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's
it
really
might have been
common.
somebody
It's really
grave
common.
robbing, and they're not going to say, "Oh, I found these grave robbing," right?
Yeah.
Like they're going to be like, somebody's going to be like, "How do you have these books? They're so important." And be like,
I was getting firewood,
and I was cold, and I thought I could burn this. I thought this was just garbage. Yeah, and then they lied and told a made up story because they probably would have been imprisoned or worse if they got found out that they were grave robbing, right? So that's pretty funny. I like that. I think that's
Me
canon. That's
personally,
my
I love
canon.
grave robbing.
Yeah. Is that a Calvinistic?
What is grave robbing a Calvinist thing?
Yeah.
Look,
definitely not. But it'd be funnier if it were.
That corpse do not need that pearl necklace. Okay, what's she doing with it?
I mean,
exactly.
Who cares about grave robbing for the purpose of gnosis and
exactly? You see, those bodies are merely matter, and my divine spark really wants that pearl necklace.
To fuck that body.
Anyways, let's talk about a bit more about like the modern Gnostic.
Okay, so I just wanted to. Oh,
wait,
go ahead.
yeah. What are you saying?
No, I wanted to get into some aspects of, because Elijah, you probably know a little bit about what the institutions that currently exist, right, pertaining to Gnosticism.
I know a small amount. I know a very small amount.
They're kind of niche, aren't they?
They are.
Yeah.
And they're not like organic. They didn't develop by like there being a community of practitioners who wanted to get together and practice their faith together or whatever. They kind of developed out of like, I guess you would call it like revivalist or reconstruction practices of religion.
Yeah, and there's not like a whole lot of information on Gnosticism like to go off of aside from the Nag Hammadi library, which remember was only found in the 1950s. Before the 1950s, the only info we really had on Gnosticism was it was Saint Irenaeus, right?
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah,
it was anti-Gnostic.
It was. Yeah, these guys, they eat babies, and it's usually baby eating. That's usually the thing.
Classic.
Well, it makes sense because, like, I personally, I be eating babies.
True. I love eating babies.
Autofellatio doesn't count.
Shut the fuck up. I'm eating babies if you know what I mean. If you know what I mean.
But okay, so no, it's because I want to get all the informational stuff out because I have a very fun schizo ramble about all this that I've been just contemplating for a while.
Just boiling around in your brain.
Oh, it is. It's ready. So when you guys are ready for it, you tell me because I got a nice one.
Let's talk about the modern Gnostic church, and then we can get into the crazy schizo shit.
Hell yeah!
I one thing I do want to say is real fast. The last episode went really long, so I'd like to like cut it down a little bit.
No. But all right. How much time do we have?
We've been going for about an hour ish. Let's keep it going.
Do some editing. Just cut out all the stupid shit.
Yeah. Anyways, yes, Elijah, tell us a little bit about what you know about the modern revivalist movements of these Gnostic groups.
Word. So there's not a lot of really like modern bodies that are like extant, like that like currently exist.
Well, hang on. I don't want to. I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt you, but there is like a form of Gnosticism that is like being practiced today in the Middle East, right? They're really small. I can't remember the name of them.
They're Mandaeism.
Yeah, Mandaeism. Yeah, they are different from like the modern revivalist movements. They're pretty traditional. They've been around.
Yeah, they're pretty old. Like very old. You've got your neo-Gnostic, like modern revivalist types. That's going to be stuff like Theosophy, if you know about Helena Blavatsky.
Yeah. Who, by the way, needs to be a subject for an episode.
Yes, Helena Blavatsky, who spent her entire life trying to return to Hyperborea. But there was there's not like a centralized body, right? Like we in the West often think of centralized bodies because we have a religion that's had a centralized body it always ends up being my soapbox in all these conversations, but we have had a centralized body in Christianity in essence since the beginning of Christianity. But they don't really have a centralized body. So you're not going to be able to find like, here's the catechism of the Gnostic Church. But all of these neo-Gnostic movements have their own basis. It's like Theosophy, of course, has its weird stuff about like Europeans being descended from like A10 blue-eyed giants, and like all kinds of other weird shit.
That really happened.
Yeah, I was there.
Wait, actually, I have a question that I never really thought of before. So I've read a lot. Pretty much every source on Gnosticism that I know about is like stands by the idea that we didn't know very much about Gnosticism until the 1950s and the discovery of the Nag Hammadi library. But the Mandaeans have been around for a while. So like, what's up with that? Did we just like not look at them, or
the Mandaeans are not? They're not. It's that they're different. So Mandaeans were often not considered Gnostics because they considered John the Baptist a prophet.
Okay.
They considered John the Baptist the greatest and final prophet. And so their prophets are I'm going to pull up a list because I do not want to fuck up somebody's religion. Their prophets are Adam, Abel, Seth, Enos, Noah, Shem, Aram, and the highest prophet, John the Baptist.
Well, they consider him to be like their Muhammad.
Yeah, and so they're like great prophets, TM, like the ones that they like elevate are Adam, Seth, Noah, Shem, and John the Baptist.
Wait, if John the Baptist is on the list, then why isn't like Jesus on the list?
You know, I don't fucking know. I don't understand like Mandaeanism particularly well, or Mandeism, I think it's technically called.
Yeah, it's a bit of an obscure religion.
I know that Manda, that word that it's based on, if I remember properly, is like a Persian word meaning knowledge. And I don't know. Shrug.
Oh.
But yeah, the Mandeans are an interesting group. They have their own holidays. They're concentrated almost exclusively in Iraq and Iran. They have a really weird relationship with neighboring faiths. They have a weird historical relationship with Sethianism because they don't claim continuity with Sethianism at all. And their religion has different doctrines than Sethianism, even though it's definitely still Gnostic. Though, again, when we say Gnosticism, we're saying that because the Greek word for that special knowledge is gnosis. But these guys are speaking Persian, if I remember properly, like some kind of Indo-Aryan language. And they are calling that what we're calling gnosis, they're calling manda. So when we're saying Gnosticism or Gnosticism, they're saying the same thing, but in Persian.
That's really cool.
And so
I gotta look more into them. They seem really interesting.
Yeah, and they have like angels that are made out of light, like out of pure light, nothing but light. And the highest one is the angel that descends and grants manda to those who seek it properly, and so on. They're very interesting, and they're a living tradition. So if you want to understand Gnosticism today, It's a living tradition, is the Mandaists in Iraq and Iran. They definitely have their odd things. They're not the only ones who sorry, my words caught themselves. They're not the only ones who have an odd relationship to John the Baptist. You've got Samaritan Baptist sects over in that area. And those are guys who are sometimes called Simonians, which are Gnostics that regard their prophetic founder to be Simon Magus, the guy that Peter beat in a wizard duel.
Oh God, yeah.
And they have but regardless, that's your only real modern one. And they don't have a centralized structure, if I understand them properly. They don't have a centralized structure. And I don't think they have a central creed. But they all have loosely similar beliefs. But I don't know enough about them to comment on it.
Yeah.
I just know about their
but they
general
are
ideas.
But they are, I guess, what you would call the closest analog to a living Gnostic movement, aside from
not even analog. The Mandaeans are a living Gnostic movement.
Yeah, aside from the modern ones, which I don't know very much about, but from what I can see, they're really fucking edgy and really fucking pretentious.
Yeah, and a lot of them are one of the things that I'll say is if you interact with the Mandaeans, who are a living historical organic Gnostic tradition, you don't get the impression that they're responding to anyone.
Oh no! When I said pretentious, I was talking about
with
the
neo-Gnostic. This is what I mean.
Yeah.
Whereas with neo-Gnostic movements, you get the impression they're responding to dominant Christianity.
Yeah.
As a movement. So neo-Gnosticism is cringe. Mandaeism is cool. That's why I kept saying I don't want to say Gnosticism in the past tense, is because of Mandaeism.
Yeah, it gets weird because, again, Gnosticism is not a word that has been used traditionally. It's more like a series of stereotypes.
Yeah.
All right. I think it's time.
It's time.
I think it's time.
Is it time? Time for me to go? Time for me to get going? I should ever go?
I think it's time for you to deliver your
schizo ramble.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right,
I think we're at a point now where we can start.
There's enough information there. Okay,
yeah,
good.
We can just go fucking nuts.
All right, let's go nuts because I got plenty. Okay, so one thing I wanted to bring up that I find fascinating is that the cosmology of Gnosticism is essentially JRPGs. Which is what I find really fascinating because there's almost this tradition of JRPGs, Japanese
Killing
RPGs,
God,
animes, and all kinds of stuff that essentially come down to various forms of beliefs regarding the cosmological stuff of Gnosticism, and then being kind of reinterpreted and turned into a what's it called, a Japanese reinterpretation of what they do with things like the Kabbalah or and things like that. They like using that. They like the Christian elements of Gnosticism much more than, say, Orthodox Christianity because of all of the kind of moving parts. And
yeah, it's just more interesting. It wasn't fucking super off topic. I'm gonna let you continue. I'm sorry, but in Neon Genesis Evangelion, didn't he include a bunch of Christian imagery?
There's Kabbalah stuff, Christian imagery.
Yeah, and he had no fucking idea what any of it meant. He's just yeah, I thought it was cool.
No, he actually did know what some of it meant, but he was a lot of the stuff he was using was more in these kind of esoteric forms of books and ideas and lessons and stuff, because it's really interesting if some Japanese people, they don't if they're not familiar with Orthodox Christianity, they might just get story elements that they hear that are kind of more inspired by like Gnostic beliefs that are included in their media, and then believe that, those are some of the Orthodox Christian beliefs, which would be kind of fun. But no, but what I was going to say is what I find interesting is our current situation when it comes to this ever increasing belief in simulation theory. And I find it fascinating how close simulation theory is to Gnostic beliefs.
There's a lot of things actually that analog Gnosticism that just keep kind of popping up all over the place.
Absolutely.
Just like randomly. And it's not even just within like fuck, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do the one thing you're never supposed to say on these like paranormal talk show podcasts, and I'm gonna bring up the fucking Matrix. Okay.
Oh, okay, yeah, great.
But it's true because like the Matrix was one of the most Gnostic movies I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah, it was 100% Gnostic.
Yeah. And that's what's so interesting is that you have an ever increasing movement toward this belief in simulation theory, and simulation theory actually lends itself to being almost almost a religious belief that even an atheist can participate in, right? And so it's just interesting to me that, like, that's why I said earlier, I'm like, who says that we're not actually kind of falling in line with essentially what would be the spreading of this, this gnosis, right? Because it's not just that. It's not just simulation theory kind of replicating Gnostic beliefs, right? It's also the fact that the books pop back up in the 1950s. A variety of things like atheistic movements pop back up, right? And so what would be the best thing possible but to make most of the population atheistic in order to combat the belief in Yegelboth, right? And then reestablish a new form of belief that's closer to Gnosticism by promoting something like simulation theory.
Oh, right? Shit, Gnostic elites.
No, it's fuck. So fun. It's so fun.
Fuck.
And then but even it gets even more like conspiratorial and fun for me, because then you start thinking about the popularity of manga and anime and JRPGs in the United States or in the Western world.
It all comes back to anime.
No, it really does. And I find it so interesting because then, like, okay, so now you have all these Westerners that are atheists that are replacing their Christian beliefs with either things like simulation theory, or are really fascinated by kind of Gnostic storytelling elements or ideas about the questioning of reality and the questioning of the material plane and its worth and how it's not associated to divinity and all this sort of shit. And then it just becomes like a part of like very kind of more niche aspects of culture, but also kind of part of just the everyday what's the word, like lexicon for what is essentially a population that's becoming progressively more terminally online. And I find that so fucking interesting that there's so many elements that are like that, because it would literally be the only method in which Gnosticism could effectively still remain a mystery cult, right? And at the same time grow and spread to overcome or essentially dethrone aspects of Orthodox Christianity.
The Gnostic Illuminati is here.
No, it's just
and they
interesting.
Are anime cat girls.
No, but like, and then I just start picturing.
I am gonna.
Yeah, sorry. I know. I was going.
I am gonna take it. No, that's good. I love that, but I'm gonna take it a step further, and it might spoil your fun a little bit. Because it kind of takes away from the what if we're being controlled by secret Gnostic cultists.
I love it.
But remember, a lot of Gnostic ideas are rooted in Neoplatonism. Plato is one of the foundational Western philosophers. Mm-hmm. These ideas that the material world is detached from this divine source.
Yeah, it's Plato. Yeah,
it's Plato. Yeah.
For sure.
And these ideas keep cropping up in culture, possibly because if you follow like the chain of logic down far enough, it will inevitably lead back to Plato, because he's literally the foundation of much of our traditions in the West, at least. And this is like I guess it just makes sense that these things are just cropping up like everywhere, because it's kind of our roots. It's kind of where a lot of our ideas come from. This idea that we are separated through a series of emanations from this divine source, and we're now in this imperfect world, shadows on the wall and all that fucking bullshit. So what you're saying does actually track a lot.
Yeah, I find it no, and that's what I find so interesting, is that you keep seeing elements of it, and if you lose associate enough, you start seeing like a variety of elements that seem to be working in conjunction with each other, even if it was never, like, if you want to get real crazy, it wouldn't have to be a cult, at least conspiracy or anything. It would be essentially merely the consciousness, or God's consciousness, becoming itself over the course of time, and reappearing over and over in front of humanity, until it finally picks up the phone. So I find that interesting.
What's really interesting is that these ideas that Plato had, especially in terms of emanationism, it's not just a Western idea. If you look into Hinduism, the idea of Brahman, and you look at the idea of like the Hindu gods, I brought this up a little bit in the last episode, but the idea is that Brahman is this divine source, and the Hindu gods are all actually Brahman, which is why when you talk to a Hindu, they will often say, they'll use the word God instead of gods, plural, because they're talking about the same dude, basically. And this like emanationist idea is something that didn't just come from Plato. It's from all over the place. It's from like pretty much every corner of the world.
One might say it came from the divine spark.
Ooh,
one might say
real.
that it is
it's
the
all
gnosis
real.
of Sophia.
It's all real. It's all
humanity.
true.
Like yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. I wanted to offer like a thing that I talk about a lot, which I feel like, since we're like doing summa contra Gnosticum over here, that we should definitely talk about, which is the reliance of humanity on shapes and illusions. Which is to say, not to like a Baudrillard post over here, but we rely in our society on copies without originals, on like replicated images of replicated images. We open up our phone and we're giving nothing but replicated images of replicated images. Yeah. No wonder there is a rise in people believing everything is an illusion. We live in a society where, in an unprecedented way, our primary way of interacting with the world is a box full of illusions.
I think you're thinking of you're taking it more top down. I'm going bottom up with this, so I understand what you're saying. Yeah, you're saying it's current situations, current context, and technology that's making it seem as if it keeps re-emanating over and over.
Yeah, but what it is that is important as well is true gnosis. Because let's play ball with the idea, right? Because last episode I played ball with John D. So let's play ball with the idea that this true gnosis is something you can get. You definitely can't get it through writing, because that's an abstraction. And this true gnosis must be a knowledge that is direct of the divine source. You definitely, if you could get it through writing, couldn't get it through an alphabet. Because as, forget his name now, but he wrote The Spell of the Sensuous, Abram. As Abram puts forward in The Spell of the Sensuous, an alphabetic writing system is inherently abstracted from embodied experience, because of the fact that I could, write like, FARBAL,
yeah,
and you could read it
And I remember we established that might be the reason why what's it called, fuck, I can't remember, Enochian language is mathematical in nature.
Yes. Yeah, I think I'm picking up what you're putting down. Like, you can write Farble, but you can never like fully get Farble by reading.
Yeah,
Farble.
you can never experience Farble. And so instead, Gnosis would have to be directly experienced, which means that the only way to obtain Gnosis is embodiment, is to be a being of matter which experiences and so on. But there's something important about that too, which is
wait, real fast. Isn't that the entire idea though, that like God exists within us, so we can understand Farble by looking at the Farble that is inside of us?
In a sense, but here's where I was going to go with it. There is like a turnkey solution to Sethianism. If you need a special knowledge, and logic shows you that that special knowledge has to be obtained through embodied experience, and that special embodied experience by which you can obtain that knowledge would also have to be something about God, then wouldn't it make sense if God revealed that embodied experience to you directly? Perhaps, one might say, by embodying himself.
Christian propaganda detected. I have detected you. I'm fucking with you.
I would like to say something hilarious. The Gnostics are one of the only groups of Christians, the living current Gnostics, the Mandaeans, are one of the only groups of like heretics, TM, that the Catholic Church was just cool with. And one of the reasons why the Catholic Church was kind of just cool with the Mandaeans,
they're not usually cool with anything.
Correct.
Not even
the
themselves.
reason they were cool with them was a couple of reasons. One, when they sent, I believe he's called Ignatius of Christ. It's like a weird name, but anyway, when they sent missionaries to like Western Persia to like evangelize to people there, when they got there, they were like, "Oh, these people are already Christians." And the Pope was like, "Word?" And they were like, "Yeah, they just told us all about John the Baptist."
Oh,
and so they wrote back and called them Johannine Christians. So they called them Christians of John, or Christians. Sometimes they were called Baptistine Christians, Christians of the Baptist. Which, by the way, modern Baptist churches claim that those documents are evidence that the Baptist denomination has existed for all of church history, which is fucking unhinged. But anyway,
that is incredibly unhinged. Oh my God.
So these John the Baptist Christians, there's an important time that they would be encountered for basically the second time in Western church history. A boat full of them showed up at Gibraltar and offered to go to war against the Ottoman Mediterranean fleet.
God.
So like they're a relatively secluded and private sect of Gnostic, like sort of Christians who the Catholic Church leaves alone. And in exchange for being left the fuck alone, they show up later and offer to like shoot cannons at the Ottoman Empire. And then they fuck off and are never historically significant again. They remain a religious minority community in East Iraq and West Iran.
So good.
And this is the other thing that's so hilarious. Why East Iraq and West Iran? Eastern Iraq, has had some Islamist forces every so often. That is, of course, southeastern Iraq is, of course, or northeastern Iraq is, of course, part of Kurdistan, but like the Kurdistan Autonomous Region.
Long live Kurdistan.
Sure. And Western Iran, that's another really weird place for them to be, with the Islamic Revolution having happened and all that. Muhammad knew about them. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, knew about I gotta be inclusive here, knew about the Mandaeans, and he like wrote about them and was like, these are people of the book. These are fellow monotheistic, like Abrahamic people.
So we should all be Mandaeans because they're the most Chad group ever.
So they just so they just dodged all of this like deluge.
They dodged all of it by having John the Baptist and being monotheists.
They literally dodged
and crusades. By sticking to the incredibly key geopolitical policy of fucking off. Of fucking off into a rural area and not talking to anyone about your religion.
That sounds awesome.
God damn.
You might have converted me. I might have to go look into that.
That's true. I am now I don't know, Ave Mandea. I don't know. What do I say?
I'm gonna go do that.
Yeah.
Like Ave how would you say like hail wisdom?
Do they take new people? Can an American become one?
You wouldn't say anything. You wouldn't say anything. You would in the Mandaean tradition, you would shut the fuck up.
Yeah, right?
It's like Fight Club. So
okay, I think.
Wait. I just cracked open their Wikipedia because I was like, let me see if they have it. They have a whole tab on their Wikipedia about priests. They have ordained priests. Wait, I've got a picture of the current patriarch of the Mandaeans.
Okay, well, send it to us because I think Chase here wants to wrap it up.
I do want to see this guy, but definitely send that to me.
We'll check it out.
I'll
maybe you'll make it the thumbnail.
I'll like edit his face to like appear and then disappear if I can. I don't know.
Yeah. Just put him as the watermark in the corner of the thumbnail.
Yeah, he'll just be there for the entire time, and no one will know exactly what he is.
What he is until the end of the podcast. Wait, why is that
I want you guys to look at the image. This is the dopest looking priest I've seen in my entire life.
God, we're talking all this shit, and I'm definitely gonna not be able to put him in there somehow. It's gonna be so much work, and I'm gonna just
add him in. I hope you find a way. All right, then.
All right, I think that's it.
I'm so sorry. I have to tell you guys one last thing about the fucking priesthood in Mandaeanism.
All right, go for it.
There are Mandaean priests and Mandaean lay people. What do you think they believe separates the two?
Oh God, is it the Heilig thing?
It's the Heilig thing. They believe that the priests have been vested with the secret knowledge which animates their divine spark.
That's fine. As long as I'm cool with it as long as I get to be one of the ones with divine sparks. You guys don't have divine sparks. Fuck you guys. I got divine spark.
Actually, you are the one without a divine spark.
Incorrect.
Have a big divine. My divine spark is bigger than yours.
All right.
My divine spark is big and throbbing.
Everyone in tiny the audience has the divine spark. If you don't listen to the Madcast,
you don't have a divine spark.
You do not.
You are a pilot.
I literally just got off the phone with Rishama Sattar Jabbar Hilo, the current patriarch of the Mandaeans of Iraq, and he told me himself that you neither get a cool leaf necklace, nor do you get to go to Gnostic heaven.
You don't get the necklace. You don't get to go to Gnostic Sunday school. You're out of the club. You don't get to pay the $15 monthly fee.
You don't get the Gnostic virgins. All right,
let's wrap it up.
I think that's Gnosticism. So thank you for tuning in to yet another episode of our terrible podcast. Leave
comments, you lazy fucks.
Leave comments. I love you.